Welcome children. Today I am here to discuss about an interesting lesson, that is microorganisms. Let's get started from the content. First, discussion is based on what are microorganisms. Next, you will aware about the types of microorganisms. Then, environments and substrate that microorganisms live. Later, the effects of microorganisms are discussed. Then, beneficial effects of microorganisms, and finally, the harmful effects of microorganisms are deeply discussed. Okay children, in our environment there are living organisms. Some are visible and some are invisible. So today you are going to aware about these invisible living organisms, that are microorganisms. Let's look at what are microorganisms. Micro means very minute, very small living organisms. The unicellular or multicellular organisms which cannot be observed clearly by the naked eye, when taken individually, are called microorganisms. Okay children, what is unicellular? Unicellular organisms consist of a single cell, and multicellular organisms consist of multiple cells. Okay, let's look at some microorganisms and their behavior. You see, they have a simple structure. See how they are moving here and there, and their reproduction rate is very high, as well as they have high growth rate. They use different organs for locomotion, such as cilia, flagella and pseudopodia. Let's see how they are moving and how they are finding foods. You can observe from this video. As well as these microorganisms show a tremendous biological diversity, as well as they differ from their feeding mechanisms and as well as morphological characters. Okay children, can we observe these microorganisms? Yes, we can. Then do you know who observed these microorganisms for the first time? Yes, let's see. The Dutch scientist Anton van Leeuwenhoek observed microorganisms for the very first time in 1674. Using the simple microscope he invented. You can see the objects observed by this scientist. Okay, how can we observe these microorganisms? We also can observe these tiny creatures. How? How can we do it? This activity is based on your textbook. For that, you have to get a clean coconut water sample. First, put the coconut water sample into a clean container and keep it about 3 days for fermentation. After 3 days, put a drop of coconut water onto a glass slide and observe through the microscope under the low power. This is the process of this activity. Using the simple microscope, you can observe these microorganisms. Then, what are the types of microorganisms in coconut water? Let's see. Here, the structure of yeast. The yeast are the microorganisms in coconut water. If you observed these microorganisms using the high power of the objective lens, these organisms are more magnified. Okay, let's see the different types of microorganisms. Do you know there are 5 types of microorganisms? First, bacteria. Bacteria is unicellular and microscopic. They have different shapes. You can observe it. Their shapes are rod shapes, spherical shape, spiral shape and comma shape. Then as well as these bacteria lives in every environment on the earth. Can you please give me some examples? Yes, Lactobacillus, Streptococcus, Vibrio cholera are some of the examples for bacteria. The next type is algae. The algae is unicellular or multicellular. They can produce food. That means they have chlorophyll. Then using chlorophyll, algae produces food and release oxygen to the environment by the process of photosynthesis. Some examples are Chlamydomonas, diatoms. Their structure is filamentous or thallus. Then the next type is Protozoa. Protozoa are also unicellular and microscopic. Examples: amoeba, paramecium, euglena. And they have different locomotory organs such as cilia, flagella and pseudopodia. Okay, let's see about the other type, that is fungi. Fungi are unicellular or multicellular. Examples: mucor and yeast. Some of the reproductive organs of the fungi can be visible to your naked eye. Examples: mushrooms. I think all of you have observed mushrooms. It is reproductive organs of fungi. Then these fungi thrives on moist surfaces. Okay. Next type is virus. Virus shows living features as well as non-living features. The only living feature shown by virus is reproduction. The reproduction can be done only in the living cell. So, these viruses have no cellular organization because they have very simple structure. Then some of the examples are coronavirus, Ebola virus, dengue virus, HIV virus. There are so many virus varieties in the world. Okay, let's see about, okay, as I explained, this is a structure of protozoa. This protozoa use different types of locomotory organs such as cilia, flagella and pseudopodia. And also fungi. Fungi, you know, some reproductive organs can be seen by the naked eye. So, examples are molds and yeast. Then about the bacteria, as I discussed earlier, there are different types of bacteria. You can see the types of these bacteria. Okay, let's see about the viruses. More examples for viruses are given here. Hepatitis, smallpox, Ebola and cold. The next type is algae. Okay children, next we will look at the environment and the substrate that microorganisms live. Do you know about the environment and substrate? Okay, these microorganisms can live in all habitat in the earth. Some examples are atmosphere, water, soil, in and on living organisms and in hostile environments. Do you know what are hostile environments? Hostile environments are the environments which are most difficult to live. I can give some examples as glaciers, desert, hot springs, crude oil, deep sea and saline environment. Okay children, now I am going to discuss about the effects of microorganisms on food. So, as you know, food becomes spoiled when it is kept in open environment for about few days. This food spoilage occurs due to the growth of microorganisms and their byproducts released. Food becomes unfavorable for the consumption due to the action of microbes and their activity. It is called food spoilage. Different changes occur to the food due to this microbial activity and their microbial growth. Then we can observe this food spoilage. First, if a slice of bread is kept in open environment, you can see, here I will show you, the black color structures appears on the bread and as well as there is a bad odor and unpleasant taste. Okay. If this black color structure is observed under the light microscope, you can see the fungi mucor. Okay children, then what happens to the carrot if it is kept in open environment for few days? Okay, you can see what happens. This the soft nature and some of the fungi have grown on the surface and it has bad smell as well as the unpleasant odor. Okay, now what happens to the milk if it is kept in open environment? You can see the coagulation. Coagulation means it shows a solid nature, and there is a sour taste and as well as the unpleasant odor. Then what happens to the fish? If fish is kept in open environment, they become soft and the gills are discolored. Gills are discolored. What are gills? Gills means the respiratory organs of fish. Then eyes becomes cloudy and sunken. As well as there is a very bad odor, that is unpleasant odor can be smelled. Okay, there is a sample of spoiled butter and also yogurt. See what happens to these samples. If a sample of butter and yogurt are kept in open environment, you can see these changes. Okay, let's look at as a whole. Due to the activity of microbes, certain types of changes occur to the food, such as change of color, texture, odor, appearance, taste and nutritive value. Okay, let's look at the studying of microbial activity. Okay, for that, first you have to get 200 milliliters of water and dissolve 2 teaspoons of sugar in this 200 milliliters of water and add 1 teaspoon of yeast in. This should be done in warm water condition. So, we have to keep it for about 20 minutes to observe. Okay, I have a sample which was already prepared. You can see it will bubble and become warm. There is the smell of alcohol due to the production of ethyl alcohol. We will move on to another activity. Here you have to prepare a new sample of yeast and sugar. Here I have a sample previously produced, then it should be poured to the bottle. And fix a balloon to it like this, and this should be kept for about 20 minutes. Then I have already prepared sample. You can see the balloon has been inflated. What is the reason for inflating this balloon? Due to the production of carbon dioxide, and you can see the nature of foaming. Due to the action of yeast, it is used for bakery products as a key ingredient. Let's look at it. Here, the activity of yeast forms carbon dioxide. It makes dough to rise. I will show you. There is a sample. Okay, you can see how soft this bakery product is. You can feel it if you touch. Okay, this is the effects of yeast and bakery products. Okay, let's look at the activity of microbes in different food types. Microbial activity varies according to the types of food. The microbial activity on food rich sugars is called fermentation. The microbial activity on food rich protein is called putrefaction. And the microbial activity on food rich in fats is called rancidity. Let's see the factors that contribute to the activity of microorganisms. Okay, what are the factors? There are two main factors. One is moisture, the other one is temperature. The most suitable temperature for the growth of microorganisms is room temperature, that is 25 Celsius to 30 Celsius. So, are there any factors affecting microbial activity? Yes. Substrate and the pH ranges are other factors affecting the microbial activity. Okay, let's see how we control the activity of microorganisms. As you know, food spoilage is a bad effect, so we should control this. If you control one of the factors affecting the activity of microorganisms, we can preserve food. In ancient time too, different food preservation methods are used to reduce the microbial activity. So, let us look at some modern methods. You can see the refrigerating. This is done by all of us. We keep food inside the refrigerators to cool. It is done to reduce the moisture content that is necessary for the microbial activity. Then about smoking, some food items is subjected to smoking, and freezing, such as some fresh foods and ice creams, you know, these are kept in freezing conditions. Then sugaring and salting, and as well as canning and vacuum packing are some of the examples for food preservation methods. That means avoid activity of microorganisms. These food preservations are done. Here you can see some of the figures. Here canning. By doing canning, the entry of microbes have been reduced, and by drying, moisture has been controlled. So, in refrigerating, as I discussed earlier, temperature necessary for the microbial growth has been controlled. And you can see smoking and salting. Here, moisture is the factor which is controlled. In pasteurization, the temperature is controlled, so microbial activity can be reduced. So far children, we have discussed about what are microorganisms and the types of microorganisms and environments and substrates that they live, and as well as food spoilage. Let's take a look at the effects of microorganisms. First, I am going to be discuss about the beneficial effects. So, beneficial effects are discussed under three fields. First, I hope to discuss the applications of microorganisms in the field of agriculture. I brought a sample of compost to show you. This is one use of microorganisms, producing compost. Okay, do you know how the compost is produced? Compost is produced due to the actions of different types of microorganisms by the decompositions of organic matter. So, especially fungi and bacteria are helpful in this process. Okay, next use is the biological pesticides and weedicides. So, you know there are some insect pests affects the growth of the crops. So, using microbes, biopesticides have been developed, and as well as to control weeds, biological weedicides have been introduced. And let's look at the other use. That is, in agriculture, the crop harvest is very important. So, to enhance this crop harvest, drought resistance and pest resistant varieties have been introduced. By doing this, we can improve our harvest. And also, the different types of microorganisms can be used to produce the foods with high nutritive quality. One example is golden rice, that is rich in vitamin A. Golden rice is produced using a bacterial species. Okay, let's look at how the microbes are used in the field of medicine. Have you heard about the antibiotics? Yes, antibiotic is a chemical substance produced inside the microorganisms that is used to destroy or sabotage another microorganisms. Some examples are penicillin, tetracycline and amoxicillin. Mostly bacteria and fungi are used to produce antibiotics, and as well as only these two species of fungi and bacteria can be destroyed by using antibiotics. Next, have you heard about vaccine? Another use of microbes are producing vaccines. Vaccines are produced with the use of killed microbes or weakened microbes or using the toxins produced by them. Some examples for vaccines are tetanus vaccines, polio vaccines and measles vaccines. Okay, let's look at about the producing antitoxins. Antitoxins are the chemicals producing pathogenic bacteria that harms the activity of hosts, organisms. Okay, let's look at how microbes are used in the field of industries. Microbes are used to produce dairy products. You know dairy products. What are dairy products? Yogurts, curds, cheese, butter. So, some of the bacterial varieties are used to produce these dairy products. Then other use is the producing biogas. How biogas is produced? Biogas is produced using the organic matter such as household waste, cow dung, some wasted vegetables with the use of water. Then what is the type of microorganisms used in the production of biogas? It is anaerobic bacteria. So, biogas mainly contains the gas methane. So, this can be used as the energy source. It is an alternative energy source. Okay, how microbes are used in the production of plant fibers? Do you know coconut, hemp, agave are used to produce fibers. Then how these fibers are produced? Fibers are produced due to the activity of microbes. There is a compound named as pectate that bound these fibers together. Some microorganisms are used to produce plant fibers. Coconut, hemp, agave are some of the examples used to produce plant fibers. Do you know? To bind these plant fibers, there is a compound called pectate. Then microbes will degenerate this pectate with the help of pectinase that they produced. Okay, next use is the production of alcohol. The yeast that we already discussed earlier is used to produce alcohol, and to produce vinegar a certain type of bacteria is used. And the other application is in the bakery industry. As I explained earlier, you have observed that how yeast are used in the bakery products, then microbes can also be used in the field of bakery production. Okay. Not only beneficial effects occur due to the activity of microbes, there are harmful effects too. One harmful effect is food spoilage. I am not going to discuss about food spoilage again because we deeply discussed about this food spoilage previously. Then let's look at about the causing infectious diseases for man, animals and crops. And as well as these microbes cause economical damages to the clothes and wooden furnitures as well as for buildings. Now let's see how microbes affects human beings. They make different diseases. Some examples are protozoal diseases, malaria, leishmaniasis, amoebiasis are some of the examples for diseases caused by the protozoa. Then viral diseases, examples are common cold, dengue, AIDS and corona. Then let's look at the fungal diseases, pityriasis, sore. And about the bacterial diseases, tuberculosis, leprosy and typhoid fever. Remember, these are only few examples. There are more other diseases caused by microorganisms. Okay, let's see how damages of microbes done for human being. First figure indicates the leprosy. See how the skin has affected due to the actions of leprosy. And second figure indicates the dengue hemorrhagic condition. And third one, fungi on skin, it is the pityriasis. And the fourth figure indicates the sore. And the fifth one, leishmaniasis, it is spread by sandfly. And let's look at the last one, that is the tuberculosis. You can see how the lungs are affected by the disease tuberculosis. Okay, let's look at the diseases caused to animals. You can see the figure of dog suffering from rabies. It is a viral disease. Not only dogs, other mammals can be affected by the disease rabies. The main symptom is foaming in mouth. So another example is foot and mouth disease. It is also a viral disease. Blisters can be appeared in the mouth. So mastitis is another example. It is bacterial disease. Here you can see the swelling of udder and the redness of udder, and it is very painful, and as well as milk becomes water in nature. Okay, let's look at how microbes affects on plants. Here you can see a tomato plant. The disease is blight. It is a fungal disease. Initially you can see brown spots, then later these brown spots become black color. Then the next type is a leaf curl disease. It is a viral disease. You can see curling of leaves, stunt in the plant are the main symptoms of the leaf curl disease. Here you can see the mosaic. It is a plant leaf manioc. You can see yellow color or green color patches around the leaf. So, it is a viral disease. Okay, let us take a look at the damages caused by the microorganisms on walls. You can see how fungi affected the walls of the buildings, and fungi on clothes. You can see here how clothes are damaged due to the fungal infection. Then here you can see the fungal growth on wooden surfaces. This all causes damages to our economy. We have to pay lot of money for the repairing of these items. Okay children, so far we have discussed about what are microorganisms. I will summarize. The unicellular or multicellular organisms which cannot be clearly observed by the naked eye when taken individually are called microorganisms. Okay, next we discuss about the types of microorganisms. What are the main types? Bacteria, protozoa, algae, virus and fungi. Then already we discussed about the effects of microorganisms on food. You observed how food gets spoiled due to the actions of microbial activity, and as well as we did some experiment to observe the microbial activity. And there are some terms: fermentation, putrefaction and rancidity. Do you remember the meaning of this? Due to the food spoilage, change of color, change of odor, change of texture and nutritive value, and as well as the change of texture can be occurred. And later we discuss about the beneficial effects of microorganisms under 3 fields, that is in agriculture field and the field of medical and the industrial field. And finally, we discuss about the harmful effects of microorganisms, that are food spoilage, causing infectious diseases to man, animals and plants, and as well as causing economical damage to clothes and the wooden furniture. Okay children, we did some experiment in this session, so you also can practice these activities in your house with the help of your parents. Then get the experience of doing these activities. Hope to meet you again children. Goodbye.